Hello everyone, welcome back to the Global Alert TV channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. The world watched in disbelief as reports emerged from Ukraine's eastern airfields, a daring act that seemed straight out of a Cold War thriller. For months, Kyiv's intelligence network had been intercepting fragments of communication, signals from within Russia's transport command suggesting the movement of something enormous, heavily guarded and highly classified. Rumors whispered of a nuclear cargo, a shipment supposedly carrying components related to tactical nuclear weapons, or their delivery systems. Whether it was a bluff, an operational transfer, or a demonstration of strength, Ukraine decided to wait, watch, and strike at the perfect moment. The world didn't expect what followed next, a blinding explosion at a strategic airport that lit up the night sky and sent shockwaves far beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. The exterior of this story is one of intensity, precision, and deep-rooted strategic calculation. Ukrainian forces had been monitoring multiple airbases believed to be storing or transporting advanced Russian weaponry. But this time, the focus was on one, a quiet airstrip near Belgorod, just across the border. Satellite images captured an unusual amount of heavy vehicles, specialized transport trucks, and mobile containment units surrounded by armed guards. The operation appeared routine from afar, but the movement patterns told another story. Ukrainian analysts realized the Russians were moving something that required both secrecy and extreme caution. For Ukraine, that meant one thing, something nuclear, or at least something being passed off as such. As the night fell over the border regions, Ukrainian reconnaissance drones recorded every motion from high altitude. They saw technicians in protective suits, massive crates marked with coded serial numbers, and trucks with lead-lined containers. The airfield's floodlights illuminated a haunting scene. Quiet, careful movements that spoke of something dangerous. Ukrainian military command hesitated for days, unsure whether to strike and risk global outrage or to let it pass. But when evidence mounted that this secret nuclear cargo could soon reach operational bases closer to Crimea, the decision was made. The strike had to happen before the shipment dispersed. The interior of the operation was a story of nerves, precision, and sleepless nights. Inside Ukraine's military intelligence command center, analysts pored over intercepted communications, decoding fragments that hinted at nuclear materials, perhaps warhead components or isotopic samples being moved for testing or maintenance. One intercepted message mentioned containment procedures and radiation shields, terms that only deepen the mystery. Every hour brought new tension. The Ukrainian defense leadership along with foreign advisors debated the implications. Would hitting this convoy or airfield invite catastrophic retaliation from Russia? Or was it the only way to send a message that no matter what Moscow moved near the front, Ukraine was watching and ready to act? Commanders knew they were walking a tightrope between defense and escalation. In the underground situation room, the air was heavy with silence broken only by short, coded radio exchanges. One operator whispered the final confirmation, target verified. Cargo stable, window of opportunity 45 minutes. The countdown began. As drones adjusted altitude and angle, every soldier in the command post felt the weight of what was about to happen. When the command came, execute strike, the drones dived in perfect formation, launching guided munitions that screamed through the night. The explosion that followed was not just an airstrike, it was an ignition of tension that had been building for months. Flames erupted across the tarmac, consuming the transport vehicles and illuminating the sky like a sunrise of fire. Performance-wise, Ukraine's precision was remarkable. The strike demonstrated a new level of tactical excellence, combining intelligence, timing, and high-tech warfare in perfect harmony. Drones, guided missiles, and real-time satellite coordination ensured that the hit was both accurate and devastating. Within minutes, every target was reduced to charred fragments. Russian emergency crews rushed to contain what they initially believed was a conventional explosion, but when radiation sensors triggered alarms, panic spread among the responders. Some unverified reports even claimed that Moscow scrambled its nuclear response teams, fearing that the strike had damaged radioactive materials. Regardless of what was truly inside those containers, Ukraine's performance on the battlefield sent a clear message. Precision warfare had become Kyiv's strongest weapon. Safety features in such an operation were critical and carefully maintained. Ukrainian engineers had ensured that their drones carried advanced proximity sensors and fail-safe systems to prevent premature detonation. The missiles used were guided not just by GPS, but also by infrared tracking, allowing them to adjust to last-second changes in the target's location. In addition, the operation was designed to minimize collateral damage. The strike took place in a remote airfield zone, away from civilian settlements, showing Ukraine's continued effort to distinguish military targets from civilian areas, a stark contrast to Russia's indiscriminate strikes on Ukrainian cities. The coordination between different branches of Ukraine's defense also highlighted how deeply integrated their safety protocols had become, blending human decision-making with AI-driven precision mapping. Ukraine's unique selling point in this high-stakes confrontation wasn't just its bravery or its technology, it was its patience. Kyiv didn't rush the attack. It waited for days, tracking, verifying, and preparing until the opportunity aligned perfectly. This level of restraint demonstrated maturity and discipline in a war often defined by chaos. The psychological impact on Russia was even greater. For years, Moscow believed it could operate in secrecy, shielded by the fog of propaganda. But Ukraine's ability to uncover and strike a supposedly untouchable operation shattered that illusion. The message was clear: there is nowhere safe, not even within your own borders, if you continue to threaten global stability. In terms of price, the cost of this operation was measured not only in dollars, but in diplomatic weight and political risk. Militarily, the expenditure was minimal compared to the outcome. A few drones and guided munitions against potentially billions worth of Russian hardware and logistics. But politically, the cost was steep. Moscow immediately accused Kyiv of targeting nuclear infrastructure, a claim Ukraine denied, stating that the target was purely logistical and non-nuclear. International bodies demanded explanations, while NATO maintained silence, avoiding direct involvement, but quietly monitoring the fallout. The markets reacted too. Oil prices spiked overnight, and defense stocks surged. The global stage once again trembled under the shadow of a single explosion that blurred the line between tactical warfare and nuclear anxiety. Inside Ukraine, the reaction was mixed with pride and fear. Citizens celebrated another act of defiance, another moment where their small nation stood tall against a giant, but beneath the pride was anxiety. What if this time, Russia responded with something far worse? Government officials reassured the public, stating that all defensive systems were on high alert and that Western partners had been informed in advance of the operation. The air raid sirens that followed the strike were not signs of regret, but of readiness. Ukraine had crossed a line, and it knew the consequences could be immense. In Moscow, the mood turned dark. The Kremlin held emergency meetings as state media scrambled to control the narrative. Some analysts speculated that the cargo destroyed was not nuclear, but a decoy designed to test Ukraine's intelligence reach. Others suggested it was a genuine transfer of sensitive components between research sites. Whatever the truth, the optics were disastrous for Russia. The image of a burning airfield and destroyed classified cargo symbolized vulnerability, something Putin could not afford at home or abroad. As the smoke cleared, global leaders began issuing statements urging calm. The US and Europe stopped short of condemning Ukraine, while China and India called for restraint. The United Nations convened an urgent session, echoing fears of a nuclear incident, though no radiation spike was ultimately confirmed. For ordinary people around the world, the event served as another chilling reminder of how close humanity still stands to catastrophe. The conclusion of this story is not about destruction, but about the message it carried. Ukraine's calculated strike proved that intelligence, patience, and precision can overpower secrecy and intimidation. It also reminded the world that nuclear rhetoric, when pushed too far, invites consequences that no side can fully control. For Kyiv, this wasn't just another victory, it was a statement of sovereignty and survival. For Moscow, it was a moment of reckoning, a signal that even its most secret operations could be exposed and eliminated. In the end, the world watched as two nations continued their dangerous dance on the edge of escalation. But one thing was certain: the night Ukraine ignited that airport, history took note. It became a symbol of defiance in the face of fear, intelligence in the face of secrecy, and courage in the face of annihilation.